Hello, this is Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and today we're doing our shaky cam interior review inside a 2017 Ford Raptor. I think technically this is the F-150 Raptor, but whatever. Everybody knows what a Raptor is. Anyway, this is the interior here. There are a lot of similarities with the F-150. In fact, there are very few differences, but there are a few. First off, this is a Ford performance vehicle, so that means it has the new 3.5 liter EcoBoost engine putting out 450 horsepower. Also means that it has a couple of things like the racing stripe at the top of the steering wheel and the Ford Performance logos on the door sills and so forth. So to get started, like any F-150, it has windows, mirrors, etc. up here. This button folds the mirrors in. This button shuts the windows down so that people can't roll them up and down. This selects the left and right. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. Over here you have your side lights, so puddle lights on the mirrors. You can control them there to manually turn them on and off. Down here you have your lighting controls, so it's on automatic headlights right now. You can pick and choose whichever one you'd like. This is the dimmers for that, and the cargo lamp is over there. Down there is a control for the pedals, moves them back and forth, so those foot pedals are a little easier to get to if you need that sort of thing. Over here, we'll just go to the steering wheel. You can see it has paddle shifters. I've seen people call these small. I don't know why they would call them small. I think they're pretty good size. They could maybe come this way a little further towards the outside of the steering wheel, but really for the amount of time you're going to be using them, these are a good size. Honestly, even in a performance vehicle like this, paddle shifting is still just kind of a gimmick, but you know, some people demand having them, so there they are. This right here controls what's going on the driver's information screen here. This has the upgraded one, so it's the much larger one. I'll show you in a minute some of the stuff you can do up there. Down here is cruise control. This does have adaptive cruise, so this is your distance setting for that. Otherwise, it works like any other cruise control. You turn it on, you set it. Over here, you have basic infotainment controls, mostly for the audio right here. So track back and forth, or channel back and forth depending, volume here, and then this is your voice activation button. Get used to using that. You'll use it a lot because Ford's voice activation is one of the best in the business. Down here you have a bunch of things. So here you have your driving modes, so you can quickly select driving modes back and forth here. There are a handful of them. So you have some terrain modes, so normal, there's sport, weather, mud and sand. Some of these it automatically goes to 4x4. Then you have the Baja mode, which let me get the screen come up. See the Baja there? Haha, Baja mode. And rock and crawl, which automatically puts it in 4x4 low. And I need to hit OK, and that's it. So this is your driving mode control. Here is your steering mode, so you can control that separately. You can make it tighter for more sporty feel, looser for a more comfortable feel, etc. This is the quick mute button to mute the stereo, and your telematics, fancy way of saying your telephone, down here. Otherwise, this is pretty straightforward stuff. You only have one dongle to deal with. That's over here. That's for windshield washers. All of these are auto modes. And then you have the squirters when you push it. So, jumping to the instrument cluster. So you can see we have a tachometer over there, speedometer over there, and then a whole lot of stuff over there. So across the top doesn't change. You always have those gauges across the top. So you have your oil, your engine temperature or water temperature, the fuel amount of fuel you have, I guess, fuel gauge, and your turbo boosting. Right now I'm on the trip, so you can see what my trip has been. You can see that I've averaged 14 miles a gallon. I don't think anybody who owns this is going to get a whole lot better than that. It's rated better than that, but the ratings that are on the sheet for this truck are not necessarily specific to the Raptor. I believe they are for the F-150, and so they're pretty far off. This is supposed to be getting 16 miles a gallon. I would say, yeah, good luck with that. 16 is the average, not the highway, by the way. So, and then across the bottom, you see that's the gearing down there, and then any of the nannies you have on. So that's the steering mode right there. Probably can't, it doesn't show it, but that's comfort mode right there. That's lane control, so you can see the dash lines. That means it has the lane warning. It's a lane departure warning, vibrates the steering wheel, whatever. And then over here is the actual tachometer. The engine stop-start is not on right now. I did not manually turn that off. It's because the truck's warming up. You can see the engine heat is not even on the needle yet. So, paging through these, right now I'm looking at the trip. You can go up and down with the buttons to see like a second trip, things like that. And then bouncing over, we can look at a lot of things. So if I want to see the tire pressure, if I want a digital speedometer readout in the middle, which is kind of useful if you're really kind of gunning it around, makes it faster. You can see some engine information. We can bring that up really quick. Kind of shows you where you are, 77 hours of use, 14 hours of that is in idle, etc., etc. Then you can jump over to towing. This does have the towing package, including the trailer backup system and the trailer braking system. I'm not in tow mode right now. You can do that very quickly by just pushing the button for tow mode, which is right next to the trailer backup knob. Pretty straightforward there. I don't think there's anything you need to really know about that. This is kind of useful. I've been using this off the road so you can see kind of what's going on. Here's the tilt and yaw and whatnot, and a few other things to show you what's going on with your system while you're off the road. So you can quickly see, oh, my steering isn't normal, maybe I need it a little tighter, etc. You know, the traction control and whatnot. So you can quickly see what is happening and what you have set. Kind of useful. I also like this because I like to be able to see what I'm doing if I'm doing real off-road. Now, this is not a serious mud digging truck. This is more of a Baja style truck. So it is made to have suspension that's made to take a lot of bumps and bounces at speed, not necessarily to crawl through the rocks, but it is capable of doing some of that. Now, jumping over here, here's all the settings. So you can turn things on and off at default. So you can default to having blind spot on, not having it on, having the auto high beams on or not having them on, etc. This is useful because if you are using this truck daily, there are a lot of things that will probably annoy you that you're going to want to turn on and off, so that they're not always on by default. But for the most part, that's where you do all of that. So that's it for that. I don't really have much else to show you. Here you can do some custom things. So if you want to quickly see, you can change my view to have information you want on the screen. It is a little bit limited as to what you can do, but you can do a lot with it. So back to my trip info, and then we move on. Coming over here, you can see here's the engine start button down there. And then over here is a 4x4 control. You can leave it in 2 high like I've been doing for a lot of my driving. You can also go into 4 auto, which automatically engages 4-wheel drive when it's needed and leaves it off otherwise. And then, of course, 4 high and 4 low. Right here, pushing this locks the rear differential. You have to be in 4-wheel drive to do that. That's why it didn't actually do it. This is the trailer backup system. So if you have a trailer hooked up and it has been configured for this or zeroed to it, then you can use this to back the trailer up through the camera. So if you want the trailer to go that way, you turn the knob that way, etc. Kind of a cool system if you're not used to backing up. Really useful if you're using a small trailer with toys on it that you can't necessarily see very well or at all through the rear, through the side mirrors. Down here is the trailer brake controls. Over here, this is the infotainment screen. Right now it's looking at the forward-facing camera on this truck. That's all well and good, but I don't need that. So I'm going to, here's kind of you can do a lot of interesting things, but this is kind of the main screen. So you can use this camera button to look at the cameras when you haven't gone into reverse. I've been using it to park in my carport because it is a bit of a tight fit, and I can use that button so that I can see to either side of the truck and get in without scraping anything. Over here, hill descent control. This is the traction control there, Duke's lights, and this is how you control the engine stop-start system. So if you don't like it turning off at stoplights and whatever, you can toggle it there. This is kind of the main menu screen, so you can see the little house is blue. This is kind of what you see when you hit that button, which is almost always there. You can see that it does not have a Wi-Fi connection, but that's because I'm a little too far away from the house for it. This can connect to your home Wi-Fi and do automatic updates via that Wi-Fi when it's parked in the garage or whatever else. Most of these are pretty straightforward. You're going to spend a little bit of time in the settings screen. This is where you'll find things that you can change out, like ambient lighting. There are several colors to choose from. It changes the color of the LEDs in the cup holders and a few other places. You can set valet mode here and what that means, and so on and so forth. Here's where your preferences for CarPlay and Android Auto are, where Wi-Fi is set up, and so on. Kind of useful stuff. Good to know that it's there. You're also going to spend some time in apps. Now, right now, my phone is not connected to the truck, so because I haven't plugged it in, so none of my Android Auto apps are showing up. But this is where they would be. This is the stuff that is built in. Use this to connect things, to connect apps from your phone if they don't automatically do so. Climate is here. Kind of nice. This is a dual climate in this truck. You can get it with I think a few extra add-ons, but not very many. I believe this is about as top fit as you can get a Raptor right now. That's about all you have to see on this screen here. Useful infotainment. I like the way Ford does it. There are some better ones on the market, but not very many. Down here you have your hard controls for radio tuning. So media back and forth here, selections there, or presets there, tuning over here, volume over here, push this to turn it on and off. Here's the eject for the CD player there. Down here, climate controls, pretty straightforward stuff. You can set it to dual, you can set it to single, whatever. You can see it, I have it off right now, but pretty straightforward as far as how it works. Down here are the bun warmers and coolers, if you can see those, and the fan control. Over here you have this box, which normally has a bourgeois cover, but that's where the USBs are, and you can drop devices down in there. Here is the shifter. You pull the trigger in the front, move it back and forth. Shifting is over here. I really don't like this, but it does have paddle shifting on this truck, so it's not as big of a deal. Here's the tow mode down here. You push that button, that sets up tow mode. I think before I said it was over there. I meant it was on here. Whatever. And this is the lane warning here, lane departure warning. So you can toggle it on and off with that. This is a good little slot to set a phone sideways. That's what I usually do. And then here's your drink holders here. This is different from the standard F-150 in that because of the shifter setup and things, your drink holder here, I mean the F-250. You may have seen the F-250 interior review. I meant the F-250. The F-250 shifts up here on the column, which opens this part up, which means that you gain a couple of drink holders because you can slide this part over and create drink holders on this side. Otherwise, this is a storage hole. Big storage compartment in this truck. Lots of room in there, but you will note there are no USB plugs or any other type of plug in there. May or may not matter to you. Over here you have a 12 volt and a 110 outlet. kind of useful. And then just notice the interior. It's pretty plain Jane. There are some Raptor only things like the seat stitching and a few things. These are sport seats rather than the multi-contour or something else that you can find in a F-Series. Really nicely done. I like the audio system. Very well done in this truck. Just a lot of nicely done things, and a few things that you won't find necessarily on the F-150. These seats are one of those. Another is up here, these extra toggle switches. I have not seen those in an F-150, only in 250s and above. So that's kind of cool. These are pre-wired and preset so that you can wire accessories to the fuse box and run them using that. So if you want clearance lights, things like that. Also, that's up there is where the rear window control is, and so forth. So this is the King Cab, so you can see it has the smaller back doors, which swing all the way out. Beautifully done, and a lot of nice storage down in there. I really like the back of this King Cab versus some of the others I've seen. I've noticed on the market, now that Nissan has come out with their King Cab, that is very similar to this one in terms of the rear layout and the doors. But overall, I've really enjoyed this Raptor. It's been a whole lot of fun. Just a great truck, tons of fun to drive. If you need a working truck to tow and haul and stuff, and occasionally go out on the weekend, this probably is not your truck. But if you want a truck that really looks awesome, makes great sounds out from under the hood, and will just fly with the best of them, then here you go. This is the one to get. So that's about it. This has been the interior of the 2017 Ford Raptor, and this has been Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com. Talk to you again soon.